have all the school board on stage.
Please.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Bob Roberell. As duly elected moderator, I will be the moderator or chair for this meeting according to RSA 197, Section 20. The assistant moderator this evening is Mr. Richard Eaton from Greenville. I hereby call the deliberative session of the Messinic Regional School District, also known as SAU 87, to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your participation here. This probably equals about the last 5 or 6 years worth of attendance all in one evening. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. There's an exit on the side wall here and in the rear of the auditorium. When you go out the rear of the auditorium, go to the left, even if you came in by the front door. There are also restrooms out in the back of the auditorium to your right. You can use either the faculty or the student restrooms. For persons on the stage, there's a door in the back of the stage to the right if there's an emergency. Smoking is not allowed in the school building or on school property. I'd like to have everyone on stage introduce themselves at this time.
Don't stand in front of the
Rachel Anderson, School Board Chair. I'm Dr. Chris Martin, your superintendent. I'm Elizabeth Gregory, recently married, otherwise known as Elizabeth Baker.
I'm Melissa Gray, Curriculum Director.
Julie Lampinen, Vice Chair.
Tom Falter, member of Lodge.
Eric Nielsen, School Board.
Kathleen Peel, I'm legal counsel for the school district. Ariana Walsh, School Board Clerk.
Thank you very much. Serving on the Advisory Budget Committee were Dan Heath, Sean Talbot, Jesus Cantu, Selena Shaw, Jeff Mahonen, Fred Flores, Superintendent Dr. Martin, Melissa Gray, Elizabeth Baker, Ford Gregory, Julie Lampinen, and Melissa Butts. Supervisors of the checklist this evening are Ms. Diane Blank, Ms. Janice Mueller, Ms. Elaine Borgold for Greenville, for New Ipswich, Ms. Brenda Pellerito, and Ms. Tina Hood is standing in this evening as she worked last night as well. So you need to check in with the supervisor of the checklist for your respective town and get a dot if you want to be able to vote, if we vote on anything this evening. And I want to thank the supervisors for coming in. I also want to thank and acknowledge the help and support of the police and fire departments, the town boards, the election officials, the school officials, all the school staff, teachers, and especially the custodial staff here at the high school for their efforts. Also, I want to thank Mr. David Franz, the audiovisual specialist here this evening, who's also been doing crowd control, and Technology Director Marco Oliveira for his help this evening. Mr. Craig Reynolds for making sure the ballot boxes are out here for us to use tonight, if we need to. And now to the business at hand. Anyone from Greenville or New Ipswich who is a registered voter wishing to participate in today's session must check in with the supervisors of the checklist at the rear of the auditorium. There are no registrations allowed here today. However, there will be opportunities to register in your respective towns prior to the voting day on Tuesday, March 12th. At this school meeting in 1996, the Messinic Regional School District adopted Senate Bill 2, or SB 2, which is a standardized official ballot referendum system Today we will be discussing and potentially voting on amendments to items on the school district warrant as directed by the SB2 system. The purpose of the warrant is to warn or place the subject matter before voters. SB2, by allowing us to make amendments to some of the items on the warrant, enables a similar but not exact range of possibilities as was enjoyed under the original town school meeting system. Today, we will not be accepting any new articles. The school warrant signed by the school board may be placed on the official ballot for final vote on March 12th without any action required by this meeting. However, this being the first session of the school district meeting, we will be explaining, discussing, debating, and, if allowed, amending warrant articles at the pleasure of the meeting. Again, voting takes place on the articles Tuesday, March 12th from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. in Ipswich and from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. in Greenville, and that's at the lower entrance of the SAU building. Today, we will be using general parliamentary rules to run this meeting, as has been done in prior years. There are copies of the rules of the meeting posted on the walls, and there were also handouts. I believe there's still handouts at the supervisor's table if you'd like to get a copy. And we've been scrolling by here, driving you to distraction as well. These are the same rules we've used for a number of years. Are there any questions about the rules? Yes, sir.
Turn on the microphone, please.
Switch the microphone on, please.
There you go.
All right, how's that? That's better. My name is Fred Floreth. I'm from Greenville. And sir, as moderator, I'd like you to please talk a little bit about what is meant by if appropriate under point 2 under parliamentary decorum. And the reason I ask this question is that I attended this meeting last year, and except for the introductions, the board members, I don't believe, said a word. And they are part of our community. They're our duly elected representatives. And I would like to hear what they have to say about the various warrant articles. Dr. Martin was who you called on immediately on every warrant article last year that was addressed. And she did an excellent job at the meeting on January 2nd, which was our budget hearing. And so did her staff. And of course, the materials have been handed out to us tonight, and it's also, I believe, available online. So we've all had opportunities to hear from Dr. Martin, and I understand that they can ask individual questions. And again, we went from 1 to 4 last year. I think that's probably what's going to happen today, and I want to know what you mean by that appropriate, because I would really like to hear what our elected officials have to say. Thank you.
I can tell you that I'm not going to recognize Dr. Martin first on the budget. After that, we have a bunch of petition warrant articles, so I'm not going to recognize Dr. Martin on those either. So, to answer your question, if appropriate means for certain articles, nobody gets recognized, like Article 1, and I will be looking to the chair to start off on the budget, and we'll go from there.
Marshall Buttrick from Greenville. Mr. Moderator, I would move that we adopt your proposed rules of the meetings as you have outlined them and are posted.
Is there a second? Can I have a name of a second?
Can you please repeat that? I didn't hear at all what he said.
He said he'd make a motion to accept the rules as outlined on the screen and through the handout. All right, thank you. All those in favor of adopting the rules as they've been scrolling by, say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. All right, that's a vote in the affirmative. As a reminder, if you've come in and you haven't checked in with the supervisor of the checklist for your respective town, New Ipswich on this side, Greenville on this side, please do so. I encourage all interested school district voters to speak. The microphone has been set up in front. Please line up at the microphone, and when acknowledged by the moderator, begin your discussion. Please state your name and town before speaking on each warrant article so that the school district clerk can properly record the proceedings. Please direct your discussion through the moderator and not to or towards other voters. Non-voters are welcome to observe but are not allowed to vote. Are there any non-voters in the room currently? All right, thank you very much. All right, let us begin. Article 1, elect a new school board member. To choose by ballot, one member of the school board from the town of New Ipswich to serve a term of 3 years. This article is not amendable. Article 2, the 2023-2024 school district operating budget. Shall the Messina Regional School District raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately, the amount set forth on the budget posted with the warrant or is amended by the vote on the first session, this meeting, for the purposes set forth therein, totaling $21,453,537. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $21,146,355, which is the same as last year, with certain adjustments required by previous action of the Messina Regional School District or by law. Or, shall the governing body hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 40, Section 13, subsection 10 and 16, to take up the issue of a revised operating budget only. Majority vote required to pass. The Messina Regional School Board unanimously recommends the passage of this article by a vote of 5-0. The Messina Advisory Budget Committee does not recommend the passage of this article by a vote of 4-0. The chair now recognizes Mrs. Rachel Anderson to begin the discussion of this article.
I apologize, looking for some technical difficulties getting the presentation up.
Mr. Moderator, while the presentation is being posted, if we run out of presentations or annual reports, we will definitely they are available on our website at messina.org, and we provide some hard copies during the election time.
Topic is our enrollment. It's no secret that that is an issue in this district, and there's a lot of conversation about that. As you cannot see, I guess, we've had a decrease of 141 students over the last 5 years. Declining enrollment is a statewide issue and not unique to our district. However, declining enrollment is an opportunity to reduce staffing levels, which we do on an annual basis. In this current proposed budget, we are making several staffing cuts, which you'll see later in this presentation. The challenge with our declining enrollment is that it is spread over 14 different grade levels. So unless a large number is from a particular grade, it makes it difficult to make cuts in direct proportion of the students that have left. The other challenge is our grade level enrollment is all over the place. With 12th graders, we have 53 students enrolled, but our first graders, we have 86. I also want to address some misinformation out there about our ability to consolidate our schools. In particular, there's a rumor going around about our ability to close Boynton Middle School. We currently do not have the physical classroom space at the high school. We do not have the physical space at the high school or Hybrid Hill Elementary to combine the 3 schools into 2. However, if the overall enrollment rates continue to decline at the current rates, it would be feasible to do so in about 7 to 10 years. So it's important to watch this trend and plan well in advance of that. And I'll turn the presentation over to our business administrator, Ms. Gregory.
Good evening, welcome, and thank you all for being here. Hopefully we'll get the slide up soon, but it looks at cost per pupil. I actually like being assigned this slide because it tells a really good story for Messina. This is a metric that's published by the New Hampshire Education Department. In simple terms, it's the amount of money spent on education by a school district divided by the number of students in attendance. There are specifics to the metric. It doesn't include transportation, debt service, capital expenditures, the local food service program, or out-of-district tuition expense. This is to keep, to have sort of an apples-to-apples look across all different districts in New Hampshire. It does include grant money being spent. So for example, in 2023, we had additional grant spending under the ESSER grants. That stands for the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Funds Act, or COVID money. This totaled $812,000 for 2023, which if you divide that over the number of students in attendance is almost $1,000, $947. So that gets added to the cost per pupil, even though there is a direct funding source for it. So let's look at the slide. Messinic's cost per pupil is $18,642. It is the lowest in our direct peer group. We are $533 less than Jeffrey Lynch, and their enrollment is 343 more students than us. We are 780 less than Milford, and they have 1,200 plus more students. We are 1,381 less than Wilton Library, 1,681 less than the state average, and we're $6,978 less than Con Valley. Beyond this slide, I was curious what Messina looked like statewide with all of this data. I love data. I love how objective it can be and unemotional, and it can tell a good story. There are 163 districts on the report from the New Hampshire Education Department, and their cost per pupils range from $14,000 and change to $41,000 and change. When sorted by smallest to greatest cost per pupil, Messina falls at number 30 out of 163 districts. We are in the 18th percentile. Sounds pretty good? Let's keep going. There are a lot of districts on the report that don't operate in elementary, middle, or high school. For example, they might just have an elementary school and they tuition out for their older grades. So if you take those districts out of the report and you sort those that remain, 55, we're the 15th lowest in terms of cost per pupil. So to restate, across the state of New Hampshire, there are 14 districts operating at elementary, middle, and high school level that have cost per pupils that are lower than Messina. So who are these districts? They're, for the most part, very large districts. They're Manchester, Nashua, Bedford, Dover, Salem, and on and on. They're districts with economies of scale. The lowest enrollment on the list is Litchfield, and they have 1,165 students. And then there's Messina at 858. That's really impressive in my opinion. Another takeaway from this slide is to look at trends over time. Our cost per pupil is up 33% over the last 5 years. This is not unlike our peers. It is important to remember that both the numerator and the denominators are key in this calculation. So as Rachel Anderson mentioned, as enrollments decline for districts, cost per pupil goes up. Many districts are faced with the reality of trying to cut costs with declining enrollments. Unfortunately, as most school costs are fixed and even required by law, this can be very challenging. I do harken back to the 2010 timeframe when Messina was part of a larger SAU with Wilton, Loughborough, and Mason. I wasn't around at the time, and I am unaware of the political landscape at that time. But obviously, when the decision was made by various towns to break apart, this added a tremendous amount of fixed cost to each new district. Messina doesn't enjoy the autonomy of being a smaller district with local control. And there is a price tag for this economy, for this autonomy, should I say. Next slide. This is our proposed budget. $20,453,537. Our budget includes a general fund, which makes up most of the budget, as well as a food service and grant fund. This final proposed budget is a 2.3% increase over last year's voting budget. In dollar terms, this is an increase of $474,523. This final proposed budget comes after 4 different drafts beginning early October, with all stakeholders at the table, department managers, and school board. This represents our best effort to keep costs down without sacrificing programming. This slide reviews the budget first by salaries and benefits, and then by the remainder of the budget by function program. You can see by this slide that salaries and benefits are increasing by 4.3%. Reductions are being made in other parts of the budget to the tune of 2.7% to arrive at an overall increase of 2.3%. Please note that in the 1100 category, which indicates a 35.9% decline, is mainly due to one-time expenditures in this year, 2024, for the rollout of a new curriculum that we don't have in next year's budget. Also, in the 2400 category, the large increase indicated is mainly due to consolidating the expense of our phone system from various parts of the budget in order to streamline this for the business needs. Our superintendent and our school board chair will now delve further into our 2025 proposed budget.
Thank you, Ms. Gregory. Before I go into this slide, the general fund budget by category, I did want to acknowledge the budget leaders or managers that are not sitting on the stage, but are definitely the leaders in their buildings and in their department regarding all things Messina. We have interim principal Chris Saunders from Hyper Hill Elementary School, Mr. Kevin Fondas from Boynton Middle School, Dr. Liz Pogozowski from Scenic Regional High School, and of course Marco Olvera, our technology director. Their charge was to create a needs-based budget. What they did was went to the people in their departments to look at what are the needs of these departments in order to provide an appropriate and rich education for the students in Messina. Several iterations of budgets were done on the school level, scrutinized by the leaders in those departments, and then brought to the table for me to look at. Once again, scrutinized by our board. We went back to the table, gathered our budget leaders together again to go back and say, let's look at this one more time and see what else we can try to remove. What other efficiencies can we discover from this budget to be sensitive to the needs, the tax needs of the community? All with the bottom line looking at what are the needs of our students. You can see we are a people organization. Salaries and benefits are a big chunk of our budget. Our people are our greatest asset. The most influential person in the school, in a child's life, is their teacher, period. We need and want and have a talented, experienced teaching staff in our buildings. They cannot function without leadership on the school level. I'm proud to say that at this point in time, I'm thrilled with our leaders on the school level. I feel that our team is a very high-functioning team, and our best days, as I wrote in the annual report, are yet to come. This is not an accident. You'll see also there 8% of our budget is related to bond interest. The bond on renovations and the construction of Harvard Hill matures in 2026. Transportation is only 5% of our budget. Buildings, utilities, plowing, etc. Again, very lean. These are very lean lines in our budget. We provide excellent services with those dollars. Special education out-of-district tuition. I wish Ms. Tivipa, our student services director, was here this evening. She is ill. Our student services department has improved services in the last 5 years tremendously, have reduced the number of students who required out-of-district placements, and improved service, as I said, improved services on the school side to benefit our students with disabilities. The remainder of our budget, 6% of our budget, technology, paper, pencils, the things that are the tangibles that we use to operate instructionally. Again, the salaries and benefits are largely driven by collective bargaining agreements. The lion's share of our staff are union members. You have approved those collective bargaining agreements, and you need to follow through with your excellent decisions in those areas. I will now ask Chairman Anderson to move forward, please.
Thank you. These are just a few of the highlights in this proposed budget. How we form a budget here at the school district, we literally start at zero. And we have each department manager or administrator come forward with their needs for the students in their buildings, and we work from there. So these are the highlights of the changes in this year's budget. In this proposed budget, we are cutting the equivalent of 3 teaching positions, 1 at the elementary school, 1 high school math teacher, a half-time woodworking teacher, and a half-time business teacher at the high school. For some historical perspective, we've cut a total of 8 teaching positions over the last 8 years in response to declining enrollment. Other changes are a technology integrator, social worker, board-certified behavioral analyst, and 2 paraprofessionals that were previously funded through grants are now needing to be funded by the general fund and are factored into this budget. These are not new positions, but ones we've had for several years and now need to be funded differently. Also, due to student needs, 2 paraprofessionals have been added, 1 to the full-day kindergarten program, and also 1 at the elementary school. Some additional changes. Increases in salary and benefits are included in this proposed budget. This includes increases required under our collective bargaining agreements, which the voters approved in prior years, and a 3% cost of living adjustment for our non-union employees. Unfortunately, we are also expecting another year of significant health insurance premium increases, and this year it's 9.1%. Other districts and private employers are experiencing the same and higher levels of increases, with reports by some surrounding districts of rates going up 23%. We are also proposing to increase the athletic director's stipend. We know how much this community values athletics and how beneficial these programs are to our students. We want to create a district-wide position. We've also analyzed the actual time spent by the last few athletic directors and feel that an increase of $14,000 to the stipend is needed to fairly compensate them for the responsibilities and time commitments that this position has. Other miscellaneous reductions in this year's budget are a decrease in the bond interest for the elementary school by an amount of $80,000. As Dr. Martin referenced, this bond will mature in September of 2026, so we only have a couple more years left to pay on that. Once that is paid for, it would reduce the budget by about $700,000 a year. Transportation costs are also down by $80,000 due to the elimination of the midday kindergarten bus run. And one-time projects in last year's budget were also not carried over for savings of $142,000 total. In contrast, we've also needed to increase in other areas. Out-of-district special education tuition is up by $65,000. Special education transportation is up by $42,000. Tech software, $18,000. Building repairs and maintenance by $10,000. Cost of the required financial audits is projected to increase also an additional $7,000.
So how do we fund our schools? 60% is local funding, 31% is state aid called electricity aid. The remainder is other small funding sources, other state aid, federal aid, local revenues, and our our own fund balance remaining from the year prior. There are two dynamics at play with our revenues. The first is that our budget has become more and more lean over time. Over the last few years, any contingency built into the budget have been eliminated. This means that, in theory, we will be returning less to the towns at tax rate setting time. Last year was an anomaly, as we returned $1.2 million due to vacant positions that we were unable to fill as hiring has become more challenging. Next page. The second dynamic with respect to revenues is declining adequacy aid. We have lost $1.2 million in state aid since 2021. As I mentioned earlier, this budget includes adequacy aid, which for fiscal '25 is $4,182 per student. Compare this against the earlier discussion of cost per pupil of $18,642, and you can see the delta, and that's local funding. Overall, a leaner budget and less adequacy aid means more pressure on local funding. This is a detailed look at our projected revenues for next year. Our revenues don't really change too much year over year. We did get one-time additional aid this year for rolling out a full-day kindergarten program. That doesn't carry forward to next year. I have also included $700,000 in projected fund balance to reduce taxes. This is just a projection. And adequacy aid is going up $29,000. Melissa Gray is now going to discuss how grant funding has impacted the district.
Good evening, everyone. The next two slides. The next two slides will review the grant expenditures related to COVID-19 relief funds. These funds are set to expire September 30, 2024. Thus far, we have received our third ESSER allocation in the amount of $1,843,721.10, the majority of which has been budgeted, as you can see. Our current grant fund initiatives include a continuation of our successful summer professional development opportunities for staff, and our summer camp series for students. We continue to pay for our new website through the grant, which has been a successful means of communication for our district and our schools. Since the pandemic, we have become a one-to-one device district, meaning that each student has a Chromebook to support their learning. The grant has allowed us to absorb some of the replacement costs of these devices as they break or reach end of life. The intention of this grant is to support learning loss as a result of the pandemic. This has been accomplished through upgrades to computer labs to better meet the needs of today's digital learners, tutoring services, student wellness initiatives, supplies and materials to support instruction, and salaries for specialized staff to increase student success. Dr. Martin will now speak about our district framework, which we use to support decision-making.
Thank you, Ms. Gray. Oftentimes, school districts will have strategic plans. They tend to, unfortunately, sit on shelves. What our board has decided to do on August 23rd, 2021 instead is to adopt an essential question: how does our Messinic organization build capacity to provide the best education for our students? We can all, that's easy to remember, right? That means, what do we put in to get out what we're looking for? We look at this through three different buckets, so to speak. Instruction, right? What do students need to learn and understand? What do teachers need to teach? We look at it through the engagement of our community, which we know we can do better, and we work towards every single day so that everyone knows and understands and gets the kind of education they want for their students. And we also looked at some of our organizational issues and continue to look at those organizational issues that I'm proud to say we have made tremendous strides in the past 5 years. In particular, providing a financial structure that supports the fiscal supports fiscal responsibility and efficiency. Some of our hourly employees, for example, that are non-union, their wages were really woeful. We were able to change some of that during COVID and going forward. So let's look at that with more specificity as we look at the next slide related to district initiatives. The Superintendent's Office. So it is hard sometimes for people to understand what does the superintendent do. One of my favorite things is when I walk through the elementary school and I'm introduced as the superintendent, and the kids will look at me and say, "What's that?" And I tell them that I'm the principal of the principals. And so it's pretty simple but pretty illustrative as well. I manage and support all of the district leaders and their work. I participate in as many Region 14 advisory advisory committee meetings as I can. The CTE program is a highlight of what we do here at Scenic Regional High School. Look forward next year to be sitting here in front of you, providing the board approves, talking about a potential renovation for our program as Region 14 is up for some federal dollars for that purpose. Conant and Conval are also deep into the planning stages of their potential renovations. Additionally, I'm responsible to maintain up-to-date knowledge of current legislation and new revised policies impacting our learners and other functions of the organization. Then there are also the emergencies. Everything comes through my office. There's an emergency on the school level, there's a call to my office, and our team responds. Such as the septic issue here at the high school that I'm proud to report has been resolved on a temporary basis so that we can continue business. We also do not have a human resource function in our district, and that function is divided up between the business office and myself. Although hires come through my office, personnel, unfortunately, occasionally we have a personnel matter that comes through my office. These are all very time-consuming activities. And then, of course, occasionally I have a chance to do something like put on a Santa suit and wave to the kids at Hydro Chill as they're heading off to their December vacation.
Hey, who's talking?
The business office has had the responsibility of navigating the new and intricate and complex reporting platform of the New Hampshire retirement system for new hires, terminations, and monthly payments. Our business office consists of a business administrator, a payroll person, and an accounts receivable and payable. We have almost 150 employees. It's a $20 million budget. That is a very, very lean office, especially when something like new reporting requirements for New Hampshire retirement becomes important. The business office also has submitted RFPs for audit services and food service management, and finally, in partnership with the facilities department, this is important, we've created a capital improvement plan to support the new asset management system that the department is rolling out. Things are aging in the district. This new system will have a barcode on it. It will all be recorded as to when it was purchased, when it was maintained, or replaced. Our technology department, with our new director, Mr. Oliveira, is working to ensure that our technology systems are secure and safe for both staff and students, with the goal to inspire and bridge traditional education and technological advancements that enhance learning. You may be familiar with what happened to the business office at Conval last year, the year before, where it's just amazing how these hackers can get into what we think are very secured systems. And it is an ongoing process for our IT department to be monitoring that type of security on the school level. Our food service department continues to work on increasing student engagement in the program through not only nutritious meals, but meals that appeal to students and families and to the superintendent. I'm making a point to have at least one meal a week here at the high school, and it's always delicious and nutritious. This work is done in partnership with the National School Lunch Program, which allows access to free and reduced cost meals for those that are eligible. Student services, the Student Services Office services students with disabilities, homeless students, as well as students with English as a second language. The Student Services Office implements high-quality in-district programs through research-based programming. Additionally, our Student Services Director has built the capacity of school staff to provide professional development on inclusion. What inclusion is is when students with disabilities can be with their typical peers, right? One of my favorite stories about working with students with disabilities was I was a young music teacher, and a young Down syndrome boy said to me one day, "You know what, Dr. Martin, I just want to be like the other guys." And when we include those students with their typical peers, they have more of an opportunity to be just like the other guys. The board certified behavioral analyst that we have brought on board has done a number of professional development activities for our staff to improve their work with students with disabilities. Finally, the team has engaged in the creation of a gifted and talented handbook, which is required by the state of New Hampshire. Our curriculum office continues to support the efforts of school leaders to build strong instructional programs through the use of high-quality programming and staff development, all in an effort to support students as they reach their highest potential. If you listen in or come to our academic meetings, you'll know that Ms. Gray has an awful lot to say. That's because the meat of the work that we do is we teach. We teach and they learn. And the curriculum instruction and assessment are pillars of what schools do. Reseda Regional High School has rolled out an anti-bullying initiative this year to support students as they navigate the complexities of adolescence and transitioning to adulthood. Our science department has increased hands-on activities to promote a rigorous learning experience for all learners, and additionally, a real-time credit recovery system is in the works to help students earn credit before it is lost, while implementing a common teacher collaboration time to address the ongoing needs of learners. Dr. Pogo is with us just her second year here at Reseda Regional High School, and we have seen these initiatives flourish. Boyd Middle School has taken an active role in building positive student relationships while increasing teacher understanding of trauma-informed practices. Mr. Fondas and his team, Ms. Allen, are leading this charge. And our High Birchell Elementary School continues to work on mastery of the new Benchmark Advanced English Language Arts program. The work on looking at student data is central as it allows us to improve our programming and instruction by understanding what students know and can do so we can design next steps. And finally, at High Birchell, they are working to bridge the transition into middle school by incorporating more writing and typing into the classroom. I could not be more proud to be the instructional leader in this district and watch all of these initiatives moving forward. Our recent graduates, 43% of our students of the class of 2023 went to our four-year colleges, 10% went to two-year colleges, 8% went to technical school, 8% went into the military, and 31% went directly into the workforce. One of the data points that we would like to be able to follow, and just haven't found a way to do it yet, is to find out of those 43% every year, or whatever the percentage is, how many of those complete their college experience. I would find that to be very interesting. And I suspect all of them, but I'd like to see the data to make sure. Ms. Gray will now work on the chart relative to how are our students doing.
So the charts here represent our students' performance on the New Hampshire State Assessment System, often referred to as SAS or NSAS. Last year, you can see that 48% of our students were proficient on this assessment in English Language Arts. The target set by the state is 64.4%. You can see that the state as a whole is performing at 52%. We have already begun to address this discrepancy in the purchase of a new ELA program for last year for High Birchell, and additionally, our schools have taken a close look at assessment procedures. We continue to provide support to teachers through consistent feedback and professional development. In 2023, 41% of our students scored proficient in mathematics. This is a dramatic increase from 2021, when only 26% of our students met that benchmark. What have we done? We purchased a new mathematics program in 2021 for all students K-12. The program places an emphasis on problem solving and real-world application while continuing to uphold the importance of math practice. The state is currently scoring at 42% proficient in mathematics, which is not too far out of our reach. We outscored the state average in science. 38% of our students scored proficient on this assessment. We are in the process of looking at updated programming at our high school in order to continue to grow in this area. Of course, none of this would be possible without our amazing students and our phenomenal staff. When we look at how we are doing in comparison to the state, we are not doing too badly. State teacher salaries come in at about $64,000. Our average for 2023 was about $58,000. Messina outperforms the state significantly when it comes to teacher certification and experience. Our staff consists of teachers who have many years of experience teaching the subjects in which they teach. In fact, we have 94% of our classes taught by subject certified experts. Given the teacher shortage, this is an amazing gift we have the benefit to enjoy. Lastly, for this slide, in 2023, we had nearly no teachers on intern paths when compared to the state's 3%. Teachers on an intern path have the benefit of getting into classrooms to teach our students while studying under an experienced teaching mentor. We have a few folks who fit this category currently, and they are all working hard to earn full certification. In fact, we have a few who have already done so. Just a point of reference, the last two slides are available from the State of New Hampshire's HIDE platform. If anyone's interested in that, I'm certainly happy to direct you in the right location. Of course, our instructional environment represents one piece of the work that our staff do on behalf of our students. Additionally, we have the benefit of engaging our students in a variety of co- and extracurricular activities. Hybrid Chill has a great mentor program partnership with Messina Regional High School called Bikes and Tykes. Our Vikings take the short walk over to work with students at Highbridge to build connections to support their success in school. Boynton Middle School has had a robust summer program for several years in which students have had the opportunity to engage in art camps and field trips, theater, many things. These have been very well attended. Our Viking band and chorus students leveled up the Great East Music Festival. Jazz band went gold in their first competition. Of course, our athletes continue to bring their best efforts to the fields, stages, and courts. Many teams have made it to finals, and our golf team were the D4 champs in 2023. Amazing accomplishments for all beyond the traditional school setting. Next, Mrs. Gregory will talk about the default budget.
Wow, it's hard to follow that. As part of being an SB2 town, we are required to calculate a default budget. So if the proposed budget does not pass, we operate under the calculated default. The default budget is calculated under the confines of RSA 40:13.9.b, which is defined as the amount of the appropriations voted the previous year, reduced and increased by debt service, contracts, and other obligations previously incurred or mandated by law, and reduced by one-time expenditures contained in the operating budget. Based on this calculation, our fiscal 25 default budget is $21,146,355. This is $167,341 higher than last year's voted budget, and it is $307,182 lower than our fiscal 25 proposed budget. The default budget is higher than last year's voted budget, as it is based on our actual current employees and their rate of pay under collective bargaining agreements, and the benefits that we are required to pay on these salaries for Medicare, Social Security, and New Hampshire retirement. It also includes a 9.1% rate increase for our health insurance, as again, we are required to provide this benefit under collective bargaining agreements. The default does not include pay raises for folks who are non-union. The default also includes those positions that are being moved from grants to the general fund. These positions are not changing, rather their funding source is. They were always thought of as permanent, long-term positions. The default does not include the positions that are proposed to be discontinued. The default also removed one-time expenses from last year to include the reading program, wireless access points, the midday kindergarten transportation, and reduced bond interest. If the operating budget fails on March 12th, we will be operating under default, and the district would need to determine how to remove $307,182 from the fiscal 25 final proposed budget. This chart shows the tax rates for the towns of Greenville and New Ipswich over the last 5 years. Greenville did go through a town-wide reassessment this year, which is why the rates dipped in 2023. Next slide, please. And this slide shows the estimated price tag of the proposed increase in the operating budget over the prior year and for the capital reserve warrant article. For a $300,000 home, if both warrant articles were to pass, this increase would have a cost of $182 for New Ipswich and $227 for Greenville. For New Ipswich, this is about $15 a month, and Greenville approximately $19 a month. Please note that the way the capital reserve warrant article works is that it only gets funded if the district ends the year with sufficient funds. So, for example, if we were to end this year with only $100,000, we would not be able to fund the $150,000 maintenance capital reserve. That is why the standard Department of Revenue language indicates no amount to be raised from taxation, which can be confusing language. That ends, I believe, our discussion on warrant Article 2.
Was there any discussion?
Yes, sir.
Oh, Dutch, how are you?
Richard Stockton.
What town? Turn the microphone on, please.
Is that better?
That's better.
Okay. I just need to make a comment. There was a lot of discussion, and one thing that really troubled me, and I don't know if it's sunk in anybody else, but I'm just going to use my high school education to give Dr. Barton a lesson. The most influential people in a child's life is not a teacher, it is their parents. His thinking that maybe it's why enrollment is dipping across the state. It's all, so again, the most influential in a child's life is a parent. And once again, Dr. Martin, I seek your resignation.
Please to address the budget in your discussions. Yes, sir.
Betty Heusman, New Ipswich.
Thank you.
I'd like to introduce an amendment to Article 2, which, if adopted, would decrease the proposed operating budget by $1 million. I believe such a decrease is warranted because the scenic is on an unsustainable path. The scenic's path is unsustainable because, as has been already noted, budgets continue to rise while student enrollment has fallen and is unlikely to increase or recover anytime soon. So with these thoughts in mind, I'd like to propose the following amendment to Article 2. I move that Article 2 be amended by reducing the proposed operating budget figure to $20,453,537.
You have a second for that?
Second is Bill Andrews, New Ipswich.
I need your signature on the amendment. And I need the seconder to also. want me to read the amendment again?
Yes.
All right. The motion is, shall the Messina Regional School District raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately, the amount set forth on the budget posted for the warrant, not posted, or is amended by the first vote of the session for the purposes set forth therein of $20,453,537. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $21,146,355, which is the same as last year, with certain adjustments required by the previous action of the Messina Regional School District, or by law, or the governing body may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 40:30, 40:13, sections 10 and 16, to take up the issue of a revised operating budget only. Majority vote required to pass.
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to request that the vote to amend Article 2 be taken by secret ballot.
All right, you have 5 signatures. Is there discussion on the amendment? All right.
Yes, Brian Strong, New Ipswich. I remember many years ago, the head of the Conservation Commission, Bob Wooden, had said that he wants to get land in current use and in the conservation so that it will reduce homes, thereby reducing students, which will lower our taxes. What I'm baffled about, we have lowered the students, but the taxes shot up and very high just this past year, extremely high. I hope a lot of people take that in consideration and don't forget how high they can go all in 1 year.
Thank you. Is there further discussion on the amendment?
Philip Andrews, New Ipswich. So I'm looking at the average student, or average pay here, about $58,000 a year. So I personally homeschool my 4 daughters. My wife teaches them. It's about 5 hours a day. We spend about $1,500 a year in curriculum. So that's $1,500 a year spread across 4 students, and they far, far excel the averages across the entire school district for Messina. I would not send my kids to Messina. We're spending $21 million a year for a 48% efficiency rate in ELA, a 41% efficiency in math. That is an astronomical amount of money for abysmal results. We're comparing ourselves to mediocre results across the state at best. All the parents in this room who have kids in this school district, either your kid or several of their friends are far under grade level from performance. This is unacceptable. An involved parent can do such a better job teaching, and this is why we're losing students out of this school district. Kids are going home to be homeschooled, and they're doing better. They're getting a better education. They're getting better morals, better values. They're being taught what needs to be taught, and not everything that was on that slide earlier about all of the extra stuff that we're implementing in school that is not education. Parents need to be taking control of their kids' education. That's where these good scores come from. Parents need to be paying attention. We don't need $21 million to get a good education for these students. That's wasted money. If you paid 2 teachers, each $58,000 a year plus benefits, you rented a building in New West Mall, had them each teach 8 students a day for 5 hours in the morning and 5 hours in the afternoon, you would get better results at 50% of the tax rate of what we are spending here. For $14,000 per student, you could do that exact thing, have an 8-person class, and get a better result. This building is waste when we're getting a 41% result on English and reading.
Is there further discussion on the amendment?
Good evening, Mike Pellerino from New Ipswich. I'd like to thank the administration and the board for their presentation today and like just a side note that I heard Dr. Martin say the most important person that works at the school in a student's life is the teacher. I believe I heard that correctly. I stand in opposition of this amendment. I do not think it's responsible for supporting our students' education and supporting our community and helping our community grow. I think it's the easy way out. I think this community has often, cut, lower my taxes. What are we doing about the revenue? What are we doing about bringing businesses into town? What is each individual parent doing to help support their students' education to further their own family portfolio? It's not just about cuts, and it's not just about chalkboards and pieces of chalk. The world has changed, and our students deserve a high level of education, and I believe this amendment should be defeated so we can support our children properly. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on the amendment?
I move the question.
You may.
Do I have to get up and move it?
Yes. It's good for you to stretch, Jim. Oh, sorry, Mr. Eaton, did you want to say something before Mr. Coffey closes the discussion?
Do I understand we've had a request for a secret ballot?
We have one?
We have a yes, no vote?
Yes, we do have those.
Not that I know of.
Well, I believe they're in the ballot boxes in the back.
James Coffey, New Ipswich. I would like to move the question.
Thank you. All those in favor of ending debate on the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no.
No.
All right, that's a vote in the affirmative. All right, so at this time, we will conduct a vote. I need to do a little bit of organizing so we can get ready for that. What you'll need to do is check in with the supervisors of the checklist, and you will be issued a yes/no piece of paper. You will tear it in half, and you will put the part referencing your vote, either yes or no, into the ballot box. You will take the other part, put it in your pocket, and recycle it at home. Do not put both halves into the ballot box.
Point of order. A yes vote is for the amendment, correct?
We are voting on the amendment, that is correct, to lower the budget to $20 million, $453,537.